Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Trevor, of course, and in this episode today, we will be breaking down, recapping Penn State's game last week against the Ohio Bobcats and previewing this week's game against the Auburn Tigers, the new 22nd ranked Penn State Nittany Lions, fresh off the AP polls this week as they travel down to Jordan-Hare Stadium to face the Auburn Tigers, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Just want to quickly recap the Ohio game last week. Not much to say, and as expected by most people, Penn State blew off the doors. So much for Ohio covering the 28.5. Look at me acting like a fool. So if you take my gambling advice both week 1 and week 2, you're down in the hole, and I'm so sorry about that, but that's why I don't bet on my own teams most of the time. But anyway, we are here. Penn State got the win, obviously, 46-10 over the Ohio Bobcats, the first game in Beaver Stadium this year. The attendance a little over 107,000, so that's good for the team. And it was, pretty much a Penn State show. Everything went smoothly for them, I say. It was a very smooth and efficient game. Looking at some of the stats here, 27 first downs, absolutely killed it. 234 yards on the ground, 338 passing yards, total of 572. 3 TDs. Can't really, I mean, it was just a Penn. It's how do I say it? It's a big school beating up a little school. Nothing really much else to say. It was just the Penn State team beating up a MAC team, and the stats indicate that's what it was. Sean Clifford, 19 of 27, threw a TD, did get sacked 3 times. Drew Allaire came in, 6 of 8, 2 TDs. Clifford had 213 yards. Allaire, 88. And even brought in the third stringer, Christian Velix? I don't know how to pronounce that last name, and I'm going to try not to butcher it, but 6 of 7 for 37, so they gave him some time. Nicholas Singleton was the star of the running back room this week, and when I go into a more deep dive of this Auburn game this week, I have some opinions about the running back room and what James Franklin has been trying, but Nicholas Singleton absolutely killed it. 186 yards, 2 TDs. He had a 70-yard rushing touchdown. And he averaged 17.9 yards on the ground. Again, I know it's an Ohio team, but these are good signs to look forward as this time at Penn State goes on. Parker Washington led the wide receiver corps with 60 yards on 4 catches. Harrison Wallace was second with 35. So that's pretty much it for the Ohio game. Not really much to say. It was just Penn State dominating, and that's what was expected of them, and they got the job done. Obviously, you got to realize, yes, it's an Ohio team, but as a fan, coming off that Purdue game, you needed a game like that to get into this one, and let's just get straight into it. Penn State at Auburn, the rematch from last year where Penn State won 28-24, I think? 28-24? I believe was the final on that one. Oh, 28-20. It says it right here. Look at that. And I do have the official media preview, I guess you could call it. Media preview. So thank you to my connections that got me this. I appreciated this. It was like over 58 pages long, but I only really needed the one because this is what breaks it all down for me. But appreciate, though, helping me get this to give it to you guys. So Penn State won 28-20 last year. Penn State now leads the series 2-1, only 3 games total, and before it was a split. So that's that. Like I said, 22nd ranked now, Penn State. They are now 2-0 in the season, 1-0 in the Big Ten, and 1 home win, 1 away win. Let's now get to Auburn. Auburn, 2-0. They face 2 cupcakes. Mercer and San Jose State winning both of them. The San Jose State game was a little closer, but this is Auburn's first big test of the year, and looking at it, they got 5 straight home games to start off the year. God dang, Auburn. All right, I see you. That's pretty nice. Wish I could have 5 straight home games to start off the year. So, yeah, this game will be at 3:30 on CBS. Boy, Penn State on CBS, that's a rare sight to see. It will be coming more efficiently as the SEC on CBS contract ends out and the Big Ten moves in, but it's nice to see on a different network. So this is their big game of the week. Brad Nessler on the call. That's going to be great. Gary Danielson as analysis, and the sideline reporter is Jenny Dell. So look at that. Very, very nice. So, let's see if I can try to break this down in a way. This is going to be a very interesting game for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, Penn State traveling into an SEC stadium. The first time they've done this since I believe they went to Alabama in 2010. I believe that's the last time. So, and Penn State, looking at this, 24-24 against current members of the SEC. So 500. So they will be either below or above that after this game. So, as I start to get into this, and I'm compartmentalizing my thoughts in my head, as I'm going through this, as you can tell, I'm going off the cuff. I don't really have a script here. All I have is a stat sheet, so bear with me. Last year was a great game. The Auburn at Penn State game. It was a fantastic game. No team really got ahead or had a big lead where someone came back from, but it was a close game. Penn State came off with the win. Now this year, you're traveling to an 87,000-seat stadium, which I know Penn State has played in the Big House and the Horseshoe and all that, but this is an SEC school. It's different down there. And seeing what people have talked about this games and their previews and stuff, they're saying don't take Auburn lightly. And I'm not. I have 110 respect for the Auburn Tigers, their stadium, their fans. Not as much toward the SEC because of certain schools dominating. Cough, cough, you know who I mean. But you gotta show respect going into this game. Traveling to an SEC environment, 3:30 their time. This is going to be one of their biggest, other than probably the LSU home game or Arkansas home game. This is going to be their biggest home game of the year. They got a lot of tough road matchups. Looking at their schedule, at Georgia, at Alabama, of course, for the Iron Bowl. Texas A&M comes to town. We'll see how they're ranked when they come in, but this is probably going to be Auburn's biggest home game of the year. It could be. And it's going to be a sold-out game. I know some Penn State fans that are traveling, so safe travels down there. Show respect. Please show respect to Auburn, their stadium, just like how they did when they came to Beaver Stadium last year. I heard of no major problems when the Auburn fans came to Beaver Stadium last year for the game between these two teams last year. I expect the same when we go down there. And that's to the Auburn fans as well. So, it's going to be a loud environment. Obviously, it's going to be a tough environment. But one thing Penn State has up their sleeve already is that they already played on the road. And you're thinking, oh, Purdue against Auburn. How could you compare the two in terms of crowd level and noise? Well, it was a Thursday night. The Purdue game was sold out. Yes, I know the capacities are way different. But Penn State does have a road game under its belt, which is huge. And a conference road game at that. So they're already battle-tested on the road, which is a key factor going in. It's not like Auburn, who have played Mercer and San Jose State at home so far, just continuing this home thing. We have had a road game under our belts, which I think will help. Now to a couple breakdowns. Let's start with the passing game. Obviously, and I know we are clamoring for Drew Aller. I am too. Drew Aller. I call him Aller. I think it's just Aller. It's specifically pronounced, but yeah. We're clamoring. We got this 5-star freshman QB who has looked pretty good so far. But Do you really want to throw him in there in this SEC environment? Big redemption. Like, Auburn has this game scheduled. They want revenge. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit of a factor, too, later on. Do you want to risk putting your freshman QB in there to start the game? I would not. And I know a lot of feelings about Sean Clifford, and I have those same feelings. But I'd rather go with the quarterback who has the experience and a super senior, no less, super duper senior. Pretty much, because he's in his 6th year. I'd rather go with the guy with experience than the freshman. Now, if you're trailing, if you start to get rattled a little bit, then you throw Allaire in, which might be a sign of desperation, but if you want to get something different in there, a different look, we'll see. Now, James Franklin, in his press conferences, is still not named a starter yet for this week. So they're definitely thinking about it, and I don't blame them. And maybe Central Michigan next week is where we see Drew Allaire start a game, which, honestly, not that bad, before we get into a Big Ten stretch for the rest of the year. Now, looking at Auburn's quarterback, TJ Finley, I don't know much about Auburn. I'm going to admit that right now, but from what I've been reading and watching previews, it doesn't look like TJ Finley is the guy at Auburn right now. And last year, obviously, they had Bo Nix, but he has since transferred to Oregon. But looking at Finley's stats, 279 yards total so far, 22 of 34, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. That's a weak point for the Tigers, and I think if any Auburn fans are watching this, I think you would agree with me. Clifford is the better quarterback going into this game. Now, where Auburn has us beat, the rushing game. Tank Bigsby is the guy. And watching him last year, he's a legit running back. He's going to be a great NFL talent for whoever gets him when he gets drafted into the NFL. This guy, he's a tank. He's a downhill running back. And if he goes, he's gone. So Tank Bigsby is the guy. 29 rushing attempts so far for 198 yards and 3 TDs. That's good. That's actually really good. I wish we could have that. But now, I'm going to get to the Penn State side of it, and I brought him up earlier. Nicholas Singleton, the Gatorade Athlete of the Year coming out of high school last year. The 5-star running back, you got to start him. I am done with experimenting with running backs. And I know that's what James Franklin wanted going into this year. I want to experiment. No, you have the guy right here. Singleton, let him loose. Let him go. You have a guy. Let's use him. 20 attempts so far. 210 yards. 105 yards a game. 10.5 yards a carry. 2 TDs. And for Tank, 99 yards per game, 6.8 yards per carry. Now Singleton has had more longer runs, but he's the guy. Let's use him. Let's put him in at running back 1 and let's let him loose. I think that's a smart move. Now I'm not saying he's good as Tank Bigsby, but as he grows more and eventually will become a junior and or a senior, he could become one of the best running backs in college football. So let's show him what we got with this 5-star freshman. Let him loose down there. Receiving, Mitchell. Wow, look at me botching words. Mitchell Tinsley has leaded Penn State 10 catches for 111 yards for 2 TDs. Javaris Johnson for Auburn, 7 for 158. No TDs. On defense, Curtis Jacobs for Penn State, 11 total tackles, 0.5 tackles for loss. And EQ Leota, 7 total tackles, 2.0 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hurts. I hear this Auburn defensive line is great, so That's going to be another thing going against the Nittany Lions, is dealing with the pressure for this Auburn defensive line against an offensive line that's been holding, not perfect, but holding so far. A little shaky at times, but we'll see what happens. So, looking at it now, trying to see what else I want to talk about here. Okay, I'm just gonna let's end with this. So as I've mentioned, I think this is gonna be a revenge game for Auburn. I think they have this date scheduled. I think they're gonna come out angry, hungry, wanting to dominate, and it's all gonna start with who gets the ball. Who will start with the ball this game? If it's Penn State and they score quickly, we'll see what happens. If it's Auburn and they score, again, we'll see what happens. But if there's a couple stops early and one team starts to get ahead, we'll see what happens. Listening to people predicting this game, it could go either way. Again, the line is 3 right now. I've heard some betting sites, some companies, it's down to 2.5 wherever you look. I've mostly seen it at 3. Auburn could damn well cover this game. And they could damn well win it too. I will not be surprised in the slightest if Auburn comes out and just puts the pedal through the throat of this Nittany Lion team. But whenever I doubt Penn State, they seem to pull it out. Look at the Purdue game. They were damn well dead in the water. Now, that was mostly Purdue giving them to win, as we reviewed. But this team could emerge. And I will pick the Penn State Nittany Lions to win this game. Now, I'm not that confident going in it. I'll admit it. Going to Jordan Hare, facing an Auburn team that wants to win this game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of recruits there for him. But we'll just have to see what happens. What version of Sean Clifford will we get? Will Penn State be able to get something going on the ground? And Penn State has a punter, by the way. Yes, I'm bringing up a punter. Barney Amore. How about this guy? You want to hear this? 3 punts, 147 yards, 49 yards of average. His longest punt is 52 yards. 5 downed punts inside the 20. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't make any sense. Wait, what? Where was I? Oh, silly me. They put it right under the kicking stat. I am so sorry about that. 3 punts, 147 yards, 49 average, longest of 52. 2 inside the 20, 2 of 50 yards plus. Both of those 2 punts inside the 20 got down to the 5. Inside the 5. This kicker can change a game. And if Penn State is forced to punt, which they probably will a couple times this game, you could change field position in the stadium. And man, if you get that defense out there, and I'm looking at Joey Porter Jr. specifically, I want a big game from him. You could make a pay. So, I'm going to take Penn State to win. I'm not as confident as the 2 previous games. But this should be a good football game between these 2 teams. I will be surprised if one team starts to blow them out. I think Auburn is going to want revenge for last year. And if Auburn wins on a late field goal or touchdown, it is what it is. But I'm going to pick Penn State, and I'm just hoping for a good game Saturday. So that is going to do it for this one. Thank you all for watching this as I try to do this review preview thing as I posted in the update video yesterday for this channel. Stick around tomorrow for the Miami Dolphins review against the New England Patriots last week, and we look ahead to Sunday as the Dolphins travel to Baltimore to face Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, which we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting good things, but I'll have to do more research tonight and get back to you tomorrow on that. But that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching, of course. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends, and we are on the road. I forgot to mention this yesterday. We are on the road to 50 subscribers on this channel, and you're wondering why 50 subscribers? Well, once we eclipse that 50 mark, I can start doing live streams. And not just playing video games, where my PlayStation doesn't decide to work for me most of the time. So I can actually do live streams on here, we can have a chat, we can have a talk, and I could do things live. And who doesn't love doing things live? So we're at 31 right now, so we are less than 20 away as we're on the road to 50. So tell all your friends if you want to watch some dude from New Jersey talk about his sports teams and whatnot. And I will see y'all for the next one. We are, baby!